Hello? Test. Can the gang hear us?
Hello.
Maybe?
Hello.
Just like old times.
The studio's cursed.
No kidding, dude. There's always some weird audio thing in this studio. And they're still saying no audio, but I don't know how far behind they are. We'll fix it. We'll fix it eventually.
So we should actually not talk, and we should just look like we're talking.
Just like,
yeah.
I mean, you guys can talk. Just pretend like, just go off the record. Oh, yeah, we're good. We good, Jake.
fix now? All right, cool.
No audio.
But they're saying some shit, too.
Yeah.
Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast.
Just started from there.
Yep.
We'll start.
We will talk about some statistics and maybe how little they mean this early in the season. But first, what you guys didn't hear us saying a minute ago was talking about the Frozen Frenzy yesterday. We had a great time enjoying the Nuggets season opener and the Avs game. But AJ, what are the vibes about the Frenzy? Should they do it again?
I think it should be something that happens significantly more often. I think the hard part is the scheduling of it. All 16 teams playing on the same, or all 32 teams playing 16 games on one day. I get that aspect of it, and
Even if it's like 28 of the 32 teams or whatever, but
yeah, I mean, it should be a thing that they promote.
yeah,
And sell, and they should pick a day of the week, Tuesdays, whatever it's going to be.
Make
I think
that
Tuesday
hockey
is.
day, yeah.
I think Tuesday's a good day to do it because you don't ever have a football conflict.
yep.
There's no Tuesday football that you ever have to be concerned with. So the entire fall, you can just do it whenever you want. You know, it'll probably not be great in like March, where it's like, why is this happening on a Tuesday? Like, it's fine. But yeah, I think they should just try to carve out a day of the week. Just do like, when we were growing up, it was like, what was it, like Wednesday night hockey or whatever on ESPN? Like, it was always like a thing. And hockey night in Canada has been a thing forever and ever and ever.
Oh, yeah.
Just weekends in America are now football days.
Well,
like,
they've
just,
also taken Thursday and made it a thing. Like,
right. Like, just take a day of the week and just decide this is what we're going to do. You play on Tuesdays.
Yep.
And the problem that I have with it, the only problem, it's not with the day that it's itself. It's not with the show itself. I thought all of those were good. They were entertaining. There was lots of room for improvement, a lot of growth available, but you have 3 games in the 2 days before, and in the next couple of days, you have very little hockey getting played as well.
And true of a lot of the start of the season, right? The entire first month, most teams are having very sporadic schedules in general.
Yeah, definitely. But I just think that's I get that that's probably the biggest obstacle to doing this more often, because I would love to see this every Tuesday. Hockey just goes balls to the wall.
Yeah.
You get to watch at least 80% of the league play. It's terrible for fantasy, but great for hockey viewers, which it is a thing the league just needs to improve upon. Having the staggered starts, everybody loved it.
Yeah. I mean, except for Flyers fans, but
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just when you go out west.
it happens.
If Paul Cotter makes a play like that, what are you going to do?
Should not be going to sleep for the entire third period.
Well,
I thought it was cool. I mean, obviously it was different. Like you said here, we didn't get the same, gist of it, but talking to, teenagers or different people, like, adults, and they said it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, a variety of fans.
Well,
Right?
I mean,
I have teenagers. I'm talking about my kids.
Well,
know,
you
when I
said
say-
it the other day, right? Yeah. It's the highlight generation.
It is. No, they thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
So they thought it was like, oh my God, from game to game and without, changing your channel or having 3 TVs on at once. But, I mean, looking forward to it. I guess we'll never really experience it unless you don't watch it live here. You know what I mean? Like the Avs. But, but I guess it was a success. And you're right. The weird part is, like, tonight is 1 game, right? It's just like, kind of makes it a little, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not near as much to fill your plate. Were you one of a guy when you were in the league? Did you watch a lot of other hockey? Did you
I did.
consume a
I'm
lot
a
of
hockey
it?
freak, man. That's what I do. That's what I did. And I was lucky because I was in LA, for example, and then you get in the locker room I was a rink rat. I get there for 3:30 for a 7 o'clock game, and then
They'd have games on in there.
you have games on in the East. It's awesome. again, if you play in the East, then it was a different story. You
Yeah.
get to the ring,
Gotta
and
stay
there
up
is
real
nothing
late, yeah.
playing. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you, like Wayne Gretzky was a rink rat, same thing in LA. Like we'd sit there and then we'd be watching the games in the East, and it was fun. You know, it's
Yep.
some Patrick Roy, big game guy, like wanted to watch every game. And there's some other dudes that, did you watch hockey last night at home? Yeah, no, I don't watch hockey at home. I was like, all right, well, everybody's different, right? I sure did. I still do, you know what I mean? And it's fun. But there's some guys that they go home, they just want to, turn it off a little bit, you know what I mean? Like tune it off. And you got to remember, I didn't have kids either at that time. And some guys have kids, and that's a
They
big
got
different
stuff
story.
to do.
Right?
Yeah. That's the way it goes for sure.
Or you got to go to hockey practice, or I didn't have that back then. So
I mean, AJ, you talk about the NHL trying to sell their game a little bit better with things like this. And we don't have to get too deep into this conversation, but is it a good or a bad thing that right now they sit across two different networks with ESPN and TNT?
It's a bad thing.
Okay.
I have a friend that is not a hockey fan, but has tried to get into it a little bit this year.
Yeah.
And every night when there are
Something
games,
different. Yeah.
I get a message. Where do I watch the game tonight? Where do I watch the game tonight? And I'm like, I've been sailing the high seas for a long time,
No
so trying to do it.
kidding, yeah.
And also I live here, so I have blackout concerns.
Things like VPNs and
Yeah.
questionable sites are just par for the course
Well,
for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, and especially with the Comcast dispute and everything, for me, I've struggled to give them advice on how to do some things because I've not had to do it like that in such a and their frustration is legit. Like they are trying to watch games, and it's like, oh, I have to log into a different service and watch a game on TNT.
You're
I have to
actively
log in
limiting
on
your people. Yeah.
yeah, and because they live on the East Coast, it was last night when they were in New York, they got blacked out.
Yeah.
They do not live in New York, so this is the blackout restrictions continue to be an issue, and then doing it across the different networks. And how easy is it to just have an NHL app where you go and you log in
They're
and
all
then
right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, look, here are all the games. I pay $140 a year and I can just watch the games. Whatever it used to be.
Yeah.
It's not that way now, and it's awful. It is awful every night trying to track it down. I am lucky enough that I even have a couple of these. Like I pay for Hulu and ESPN Plus just because I
Gets
watch
you
TV.
most of the games.
Exactly. And there are nights where I'll open one up and I'll be like, is this even on here?
Right.
Now there are games on Max,
Yep.
and I'll open that up and be like, what's on here? Like, how do I find a TNT? Like, I love Fubo, but there's no Turner on there, so I can't get TNT or TBS.
Yep.
And so for those games, I'm like, where do I go for these games?
can you get TNT on Hulu?
I don't know.
No.
No.
You can, so you have to sign up for like a live TV package, a completely separate thing.
To get TNT.
Because
basically.
with ESPN, with Hulu, there's ESPN, Disney, and Hulu that all get wrapped up into like a bundle because they all are affiliated with each other now. So you can pay for all three of them in one place, and it's great. You get access to their websites, whatever. That's kind of a pain, but like you can consolidate. You can watch them all in one place, which is great. But not everything is available there, and every day you're playing whack-a-mole of trying to figure out where to get to things. I thought originally, hey, ESPN and Turner, that's going to be great. They're going to make so much more money because they've got competition. They're both going to be paying good money for these rights. And instead, just as a person trying to consume the games,
It's never been harder. Yeah.
it's a day-to-day nightmare. It's a fiasco. I would rather the shit be on Versus again.
So you know how stupid I am when it comes down to technology. So in my house, I saw that today on my bill. On Comcast, it says NHL package.
Yep.
Okay, whatever that is. But I also have ESPN Plus, so I'm a dummy. So that means I'm paying twice.
Essentially, but there are numerous games that are only available on ESPN Plus that
Yeah.
you won't be able to get elsewhere.
Yep.
So
There are these
But am I
exclusive nights.
But I'm blacked out for
For an Avs game, yeah.
an Avs game on both, right?
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, see, that
That's
Me.
exactly it.
every day when it comes to trying to figure out where to watch whatever I want to watch.
I don't have a mic today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, looked on Max, it's not on Max.
Yeah.
Whether it was blacked out or not, it would always still say if it's playing on those apps. So it wasn't on Max, wasn't on ESPN Plus. Like,
And,
Yeah.
and chat is talking about some unscrupulous sites that fans of hockey, people that already watch hockey, will learn and figure out how to get what they want.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about gaining new fans, they're not going to go to the nth degree to figure out how to watch this game.
Right.
If they can't get it, they're just not going to watch
They're
it.
not going. The number of people that want to get into the sport that are going to go to the NHL subreddit and dig through,
Pull up the Discord, find
how
the link.
to set it up and how to do all this is extremely low if it exists at all.
Yep.
So the thing about what last night was great for is ESPN.
It's right there.
Everybody, even people that don't watch sports, know what ESPN is.
Yep.
They know that it's where you go to find sports. And being able to check in, having something like last night with the Frenzy, a show that just jumps around to the games, puts priority on things like power plays
Yep.
or end of game situations. We didn't have any overtime or shootouts last night, so we couldn't even get to any of that stuff. We couldn't even didn't even get to the full experience. But those kinds of things, and yeah, the things that people in chat are talking about, like the majority of people want to sit down and watch it on a television.
Yep.
If you're in a bar somewhere, it'd be great if a bartender could just go, oh, click, here it is. Here's
Yep.
the list of games. Boom.
Yep.
Make it as easy as possible. And at the moment, it's not like that.
Yeah. It's tough.
Jeez.
So that's the hard part of it. The Frozen Frenzy thing that they
Was
did last
great.
night, it was great.
A step in the right direction. for
Lean
sure.
way more into those types of things.
Yep.
Way more into them.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to shake out. It'll be really interesting how the NHL wants to deal with blackouts, especially as some of the other major sports leagues have started to pull back that curtain a a bit.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah,
heard
that's what they need to do.
Did
That
they
for the
hear that?
blackout restrictions.
Holy
right there.
lordy.
Just pop it out of there.
I'm a new man.
They probably
Had
did
to.
heard it on the mics. AJ, you wanted to talk about this too. Apparently there's a Joe Sakic documentary coming that I don't know anything about. So
Yeah, so they announced that in 2024 there will be 2 new hockey documentaries coming out. What was it? Sportsnet, I think. One of them was it's about Alexander Dig and the
fascinating story.
yeah, you want to talk about a hyped prospect that did not get there.
Yeah.
Eric, I'm sure you've got some stories.
Daggy was my dad's client, so he's been in my house since age 14. Spent the whole summers at our houses since age 14, so I got a lot of stories on him.
Exactly. Looking forward to seeing you in the
Yes.
documentary. And then the other one is Saving Sakic, how the Avalanche scrambled to come up with the money to pay Joe Sakic after he signed the offer sheet with the Rangers.
Air Force One, baby.
Yeah, and this is all credit here to Adrian Dater on this one because he's been telling this story for years. It's in his book.
Yeah.
He's told it on iterations of this podcast from many years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
He's tweeted about it. He's told this story everywhere under the sun over the years about the involvement of Air Force One in it. So
Being a box office success.
yeah, and helping to pay for Joe Sakic's contract. So spoiler alert, that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to it, and I love that hockey is going to get into some more of this.
It gives some personality to some of the players, right?
Well,
Like,
and this is obviously like the ultimate example, but you look at Drive to Survive on Netflix and what it did
how
for
it blew that sport up in America.
it did for people like me. Got me into Formula One and was a great entry point, and I got to know the drivers and the world. And for the diehards, all the diehards hate it. It's not for them, but it's entertaining stuff.
Yep.
And we've seen tennis has done something similar, golf has done something similar. Individual sports, it's a little easier to tell those stories, but we also had the Maple Leafs documentary last year. So there's, I guess it was a series, not a documentary,
Was
but
it 2 years ago now? Or was it last year? I forget.
man, I never watched it, so I don't know. But I'm a little oversaturated
Yeah,
on Maple
man,
Leafs
no
in my
kidding.
life, so But you're talking. It's this kind of content there's never been a bigger appetite for it. You can tell that. Look at the difference in the way that generations consume documentaries in general. It used to be really rare that a good one would come out and it would have wide circulation. Then Netflix happened, and now there's an entire section of documentaries that are getting made every year that people just devour. Now, a lot of them are true crime, but sports documentaries also have a place. The Untold series is enormous.
Yeah.
That documentary, I can't wait till it comes out because I got some good stories for you guys. Because we were teammates, Joe and I. You know,
Just saying, as like if I removed my Avs fandom from it, there could have been a world where Joe Sakic and Wayne Gretzky play on the same hockey team.
for sure.
That would have been something.
And more
But-
Messier.
But you got to remember, what the offer sheet came from, and then what led to it afterwards too. So I got some funny stories on that one.
Oh, yeah.
True stories.
I'm excited to hear that.
I mean, I wish my dad was here to tell him, but I'll tell him for him.
There we go. Get the real perspective. The thing I wanted to touch on there, and I think going off of Drive to Survive, what these documentaries have started to realize, the hockey has had a lot of behind the scenes things over the years. I mean, Behind the B has always been a big one for the Bruins.
Yeah.
And even if it is a little bit manufactured in Drive to Survive,
Oh, totally.
there's drama there, right? A lot of the behind the scenes historically in hockey has been very bland,
Yeah.
rah, basic. Here's what they're saying to the locker room, and it's always, "Come on, boys, we gotta go out there, we gotta
Yeah.
beat the other team." There's no substance there, really.
Go and watch the locker room footage from the Avs Cup run that got released, and you just see literally Jared Bednar says the same thing before every game.
All right, men.
Yeah, it's always the same thing.
It's not superstition; it's routine.
Yeah, and it's like, look, you know that there are other things getting. The in-game stuff was way more compelling than anything else.
Absolutely.
You know, talking about the John Coopers. Remember after the first period in game 2, John Cooper goes into the locker room and he's like, they're going to skate themselves into fatigue. They're going to get tired. We got them where we want them. We're going to be okay. And they got their doors blown off that night. And it was compelling. It was good. It was good and interesting. And that stuff was good. But a lot of it is like the stuff that shows up on there. You're like, the cameras are in there.
Yeah.
Let's see
where's
some of
the
the
juicy
goods here.
stuff?
Yeah. You know, I'm not. You know, you're not trying to get into some of the really seedy stuff.
No, of
but
course
like
not.
you know, like the mic'd up stuff. How people love the mic'd up segments where guys are yelling at each other on the bench, and you're just like, yeah, get them.
What you said? There's games on HBO Max now. Give me the R-rated. Give me what they're actually saying out there.
Yeah.
It's all I want.
We were watching the Nuggets game during intermission last night, where one of the officials was having like an extended conversation with KCP and Mike Malone, and we were talking. This would be a great mic'd up segment. What is this conversation happening right now? And I would love to know. You know, when a player when there's a controversial penalty called in a game, and you see a Nathan McKinnon or a Mikko Rantanen just losing their mind on an official, you'd love to know what that conversation actually is. I think that would be would be interesting.
The other night in Carolina when Cale Makar is losing it in the penalty box.
Oh yeah, and you could see him saying, "I know I did it,
Yeah.
but it's bullshit."
Yep.
Excuse me,
exactly.
sir.
Yeah,
May I have a word with you?
That's what
He's
I
too
want.
nice.
I want that juice for the NHL.
Yeah.
Because that's the entertaining stuff.
I love watching football stuff like
Yeah.
Hard Knocks. I love it.
amazing.
It's a different, sport than I'm used to, but I love to hear
another
what they
sports
say.
documentary. They had the Netflix series, the quarterback series, which
Yeah, I love
I haven't
it.
watched, but people loved it.
Oh, I loved it.
People-
The golf one, it's awesome.
You
The
don't
golf one was good.
You don't watch football. Like you're not a football guy.
No, but I watch those documentaries. It's fun. I want to know what they're thinking, the way they
This
they
is the
speak.
point.
Yeah, that's my point. I agree.
Every other sport has figured this
Yeah.
out. So this is hopefully a great step into that world
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
hockey.
exactly.
More steps into. I mean, it looked like they were ahead of the game a million years ago with 24/7 leading up to that Caps Pens.
Yeah.
And that the series
Bruce.
that made Ilya Bryzgalov like a superstar, the most quotable athlete ever, and we never would have known any of that if they hadn't done that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are the showing the personalities. Yeah, Connor McDavid's going to be bland. So what? Go and find the guy on the Oilers that livens that team up. That's fun and interesting. And let the personalities of the guys. Eric, there are guys in the league with personalities that are a lot of fun.
I mean, I think it shows in the Avs fan base, the tiniest of nuggets that the Avs fan base gets for some of these behind the scenes stuff. The quote from Mikko a couple of years ago, "Boys are hot." The thing immediately blew up in the Avs fan base as a thing that everyone was saying.
Yeah,
it feels like it should be so easy for the NHL to hit on things like that.
Yeah, or was it Gabe Landeskog coming down and doing the little dance with Eric Johnson in the interview when he's doing the dance and he comes up behind him? Yeah, exactly. Every Avs fan knows that clip, man.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the stuff where it's like this is the stuff with access that it makes them relatable. It makes them feel more like people. It bridges that gap between viewer and professional athlete, which can often feel like an ocean.
Yep.
And those are all the fun things. They make sports more fun, and they make rivalries better. Yeah. Because when the sideways stuff, I would love to see some of the stuff that got said last night between Nuggets and Lakers.
Oh yeah,
and the Avs don't really have that rival right now, so you can't pick a team out.
But some behind the scenes stuff, somebody says something, and you help build a rivalry that way.
Well, and wouldn't it have been wonderful to have a mic on Logan O'Connor when he went up to Jordan Eberle in Seattle for that?
Yeah, took that fight
exactly. Put that. I mean, Altitude should have been hammering away at LOC. Hey, can we mic you up for this? And sure, you're probably gonna have to bleep some stuff out, but wouldn't that have been a cool moment?
Yes.
Some guys are funny out there. I mean, I have to admit, some guys are quick and funny. And then you have no comeback. You're like, yeah, whatever. And some guys are really witty.
And that's great. And that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want that.
Let's get to know those sides of players. And these two documentaries are coming out. I'm going to devour them both. I'm excited for both.
Yep.
They said 2024 release, so it's not coming out tomorrow.
But soon enough.
I think it's out in Canada now.
Is it?
That's what I saw yesterday. I thought it was out in Canada.
I mean,
Maybe I'm wrong.
I can reread the press release.
But
that's all
what
I
I'm
got
saying
from
is,
it.
if it's in Canada, we find a way to get it. I don't know.
I mean, we'll just VPN it, as we were talking about earlier. It's no big deal. But yeah, those are these great steps into it. I want to see way more of it, though.
Yep.
Way more of it.
On that note, it's Gamba time. Head on over to Bet365. Get in on all of the action because it's never ordinary. They want every play to feel epic, even if it's the simple trash talk or if it's a big goal. Either way, you can get in on the action with Bet365. They have tons of different bonuses every single day. Right now the DNVR custom bet is the Nugs to repeat to win the championship. I think that got boosted to plus 500. So.
I don't like futures bets very much.
All right. Well, you're allowed to be lame. That's fine.
Yeah.
You can continue betting on your 6-way parlays on Avs games.
How many did you do yesterday?
I bet on...
Out of 16 number, how'd you get right?
10.
That's not bad.
Pretty good, yeah.
It felt like a lot that I got wrong by the end of the day when I went back because I was watching as the scores are rolling in and I was like, I was wrong about that.
Well,
I'm wrong about that.
It's tough when you're wrong about the first one on a parlay.
Second.
So,
all right. I got the Maple Leafs right. I got the Sabres wrong. I picked the Sens.
Blows it up pretty quick.
Yeah, and so case. My $20,000 payout is
already off the table.
Not in my bank account, and
can't win them all.
But yeah, man, that's the stuff. I mean, that's fun to do though. Is you go and you bet on the game's day, the all of them in one day, and
and if you got an extra $5 lying around, you could win a ridiculous amount of money if it hits. It probably won't, but it might.
Yeah, well, and if the days where there's 3 or 4 games, getting those right,
a lot more likely to hit 4 games,
right?
Yeah.
And those pay for the losses on all the other days, and you just keep trying it over and over and over, and then maybe one day I'll be really, really successful, and I'll get a 12 out of 12, and not have to go through that 11 out of 12 like I did last year, which broke my heart.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Either way, you can do it over at Bet365. Get over there and sign up with code DNVR365 to get a bunch of different bonuses. They have all sorts of great stuff over there. And when you do download their app today, make sure you're 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Also brought to you by Illegal Pete's, the best burritos in town. You can go to one of their 11 different locations in Colorado, including one right here by the DNVR bar, just a couple blocks away. Fantastic burritos all the way around. Their queso is to die for, and they also have happy hour from 3 to 8 p.m. You can get in on the delicious. I know, right? 5 hours of happy hour. It feels ridiculous.
That's a lot of happiness.
You can get in on that. You can get some delicious margaritas from Illegal Pete's if you haven't had the chance to get in with them. They make good margaritas. I'm just saying. You want to give them a try. Either way, go check out Illegal Pete's while you still can. They have a fantastic deal on select ones in Denver here that have their new queso. So go give it a try if you haven't with Illegal Pete's. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Is there any other newsy type stuff you guys want to touch on, or should I dive into the stats that I want to talk about, or rather maybe talk not about?
No, I think I feel like in the back of my mind there was one other thing I wanted to touch on, but I can't get to it right now. So
The Oilers, you mean? I'm just kidding.
nice.
We don't wish bad on anyone.
If it comes back to you, we can always jump onto it. But I wanted to get into this conversation a little bit for two reasons. One, AJ and I, you always talk about 10-game sample sizes during the season, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a PSA here saying I've seen a lot of you guys posting these charts and graphs and statistics and stuff. Everyone's talking about how Jack Hughes has started unbelievably hot, which is true. You cannot take the 14 points in 5 games away from Jack Hughes. But also,
That's an insane stretch.
right, it's fine. If he keeps that up for the rest of the season, he's about to have one of the greatest seasons in history.
I mean, it's 1 point shy of 3 points per game. Right. Like the guy it's a good start for him.
Oh, he's fun.
So I kind of wanted to dive down into this and parse into, with these smaller sample sizes, what statistics are you guys taking seriously, and what statistics are you saying, hey, maybe we need a little bit more to go on here? And obviously there are ones like, hey, the Avs are undefeated. That's not going to happen forever. Like, inevitably is not a thing that can continue going forward. But then you look on the other side of this and you look at certain aspects like the Avs power play. Probably overperforming a little bit. I think it's at something like 30%, 33%, something like that.
I don't think so anymore.
After last night?
Yeah.
Because they went, what, 1 for 4?
3?
They got 1.
Was it 1 for 3?
Sure.
I think it was 3.
Okay.
But
So either way,
I'll pull it up.
my point being, and I'll go with AJ for this side of it. Are there any statistics that you really invest in this early in a season?
At 28%.
Yeah, so that's
Tied for 7th.
within reasonable. Like,
Yeah.
a team could do that.
Yeah. Jack Hughes. The Devils. 44%.
Must be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is going to be maybe the oldest school hockey guy thing that I ever say, but right now, the statistic that matters the most to me is wins.
Boom. That's exactly what and I'm older. See, you're right. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Because that's when you do look at all the other stuff, man, you know, if you were to break any section of the season into 5-game samples, you're going to come up with wild numbers.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and 6 games, 7 games, whatever number of games the team that you care about has played right now, it's not enough for you to draw strong conclusions about it yet.
Definitely.
You know, right now, do you think are Detroit fans having the time of their life? Absolutely. Is Alex DeBrincat going to continue to shoot at 38% on his own?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Absolutely not. And when that stops, because sure, he could shoot 20%, but that means he's got to drop 18 percentage points.
There's going to be some cold streaks in
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of games where he's not scoring those goals. That power play percentage is going to drop, and what's going to happen? They're not going to win as many games. And so right now, just because those numbers are so, like, they're fun to look at, because you do get extremes. Before last night, just as a micro example of this, before last night, Ryan Johansson was at like 76% expected goals for at 5v5. Now,
Some
after
silly numbers,
he got rocked in that last night, and he was in the 30s.
Evens out a little bit.
So he's all the way down into the 60s now. And he's had 3 games over 90%, which is obscene. So, like, neat.
neat indeed.
You know?
Yep.
Like, have any of us watched Ryan Johansson and thought, holy, what a world beater?
No.
No. And so that's part of the point. Some of those numbers right now, you can look at them and you could say, yeah, do you want to see a little better out of Ross Colton? Sure. But as we're watching Ross Colton and we're watching Miles Wood, we're saying these guys are fitting in and they're bringing an element that the Avalanche needed. They're helping this team. They're bridging the gap between their stars and their depth guys, whatever. They have served a function here. And the Avs are their forward core, a lot of moving parts so far with a lot of different combinations, trying to find things that work. We knew this was going to happen. We knew this was going to be part of the process. So strong conclusions right now for me. There isn't one that I'm really looking at and saying that's super meaningful. Right now, they're trying to figure it all out, but they're winning games while doing so.
Yeah.
And that's a gigantic advantage on the rest of the league. The Avs have, I think it's 3 games in a row now. One of them, it's either been a Bednar or one of the players after a game has said, what's exciting is this isn't the best hockey we can play. We haven't even played a full game yet.
Yep.
I would disagree. I think the Chicago game was pretty thorough.
4-0 is pretty hard to beat.
It wire to wire. They dominated all 3 periods. They gave up 18 shots on goal. That's as complete a game as they're going to play all year. I'm good with that one. But I get it. Like they view a lot of things that they left on the ice that night.
It's certainly against the tougher competition they faced this year, Carolina, something. Even in Islanders the other night. I think you can see plenty of things that they could clean up.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's where the Avs are. Their most important thing, they are winning games while they are going through that, finding the identity, finding the chemistry, and finding the roles that work.
But I'm the old guy, like you were saying, and I agree with you. That's what it is. You go 0-6, oh my Lord, like, are you serious? We're in that hole right away. You don't want to do that. We all knew the Avs weren't going to do that. They're too good a team to have an 0-6 record, but. Here's what I did. I dummied it down. I'm not the smartest guy, so I used to dummy it down. And as a player, I'd break it down into 10-game segments. Before that, I agree, it's small samples. I mean, it doesn't add up. You know what I mean? So I dummy it down to 10 games. Let's say you want to produce a 6, make it simple, like 80-game season. Forget about the extra 2. Those are freebies. It's like when you're betting, you get that extra bet.
Yeah.
So I would do like, okay, I want to score 16 goals. Let's say that's my goal. I want to score, on pace for that. Then it's
LOC?
2 goals.
Is that you?
Yeah, it's 2 goals every 10 games, right? So then you look it down after 10 games. You have 2, you're like, I'm on pace. You have 3, you're like, okay, I'm ahead of pace. I can have a 1 game 10, a 1 goal 10 game segment, right? It's that simple. And even in management, I used to always dummy it down and look around and say, okay, if we play 600 hockey,
win 6 out of 10.
Win 6 out of 10, we're in the playoffs, right? And then now you win
Minimum.
8. It's simple. You win 8, and you're like, okay, then I have a little cushion for my next game segment. That's the way I always looked at it. But you need 10-game segments. 5-game segments are like, it's a little not enough.
You get to weirdness.
Yeah, it's weirdness.
At that size, for sure.
But when you break it down like this in an 82-game season, it's easy. You know what I mean? And then you're same thing with power play and penalty kill. Hey, here's the next 10 games. We want to hit 25%, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Whatever their goals are. And they have goals. They meet every day as a PK unit. They eat every day as a PP unit. So those are interesting to see. But yeah, some numbers are very good right now. We know that. And then some numbers aren't that good, right? So
yeah.
But it all equals out after game 10, and then you start another 10-game segment. That's the way I look at it. But you're right. Wins are the most important thing. You don't win, then it's tough.
I think that's where the 6-0 start. You're looking at it and you're like, they're due for like
a letdown.
A bad night.
Yeah,
because they haven't had like a bad night yet. They didn't have a very good night in Seattle. It got better as it went on.
Yeah.
They cashed opportunities. They played that opportunistic hockey. So if you want to say that was a bad night for them, fair enough. That's for my money, that's the worst game that they've played beginning to end so far this season, just in terms of how they played the game.
Yeah.
But as we've talked about, impressive that they play the game that they're in. Even when they're not really going that night, they're finding ways. They're playing just well enough in segments. Well, and last night, another good example, they have a bad second period.
Probably the worst 10-minute stretch of the season.
Yeah, and the underlying numbers look good. You go and you look at them, and you're like, these are all fine. These are all fine. They check all the boxes.
Yep.
But you watch the game, and you're like, oh, my God, every shot on goal is a scoring chance.
Yep.
Every opportunity given up is right in front of Georgiev. This is not good. They stop playing with speed. They do all these things, right? And they win 7-4.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
maybe they're just really good.
yeah. And this is a hallmark of a very, very good hockey team, is one that finds a way when they're not playing their best or when they have a bad stretch like that to put it behind them, to find it and play well and pick it up and to close games. I cannot stress importantly how important it is to close games well.
Yep.
It is the thing, and anybody that stayed up and watched Philly Vegas last night knows closing games, how you play in the third period, will frequently define you.
Yep.
Over the long run. And that is, you want to ask me what's a number that I care about this early in the season? It's how they've played in third periods. You go and you look, they've won all their third periods.
2 goals against in 6 third periods.
They've won all their third periods. They've been phenomenal. That one I'll care about.
No, but to say you're going to find a game when they have a stinker, the way they're built right now, knock on wood, forget about Gabe as an injury. They're pretty healthy. Mm-hmm. I don't see them all having flat nights. So if your top guys aren't going, then you get 2 shorthanded goals or 3 shorthanded goals from LLC. Yeah. I'm just saying, right? I'm just, or then you get the secondary scoring, or again, we'd like to have it a little more, but you've been getting it on a small sample, right?
Sure.
You've had a couple games where they had it, or if Kale's not having his best game, then I don't know. Kale's the best player in the world, so I don't know. He's always good. But you know what I mean? That was a bad example. So I don't see them. They're so deep and they're so well built and balanced that it'll be tough to find a night where they absolutely nothing works for them. You know what I mean? Is it going to happen? Absolutely. You have stinkers all year long. I mean, it does happen.
Yeah.
But I tell you, it's not going to happen a lot just because of the way they're built.
So I have a fun statistic that may or may not happen. I tweeted it out the other night if you saw it. Curious what you guys and what the chat thinks. The Rockies had 59 wins this year.
Oh, don't do this.
I'm doing it.
The answer is yes.
So I think there's a very real possibility that the Nuggets have more wins.
I don't.
No?
Just the way that the NBA is, where it's not about winning games every single night. Guys take nights off. They sit guys on road trips, things like that. The way that load management works in the NBA, I think, probably curbs that up. And you saw what they did last year. As soon as they locked up that top seed,
they were resting everybody.
They did exactly what the Avs did 2 years ago, where they just kicked it into cruise control and waited for the postseason. Game 1 of the postseason showed up, and they blew the doors off their opponent.
I will say there are regularly 60-game winners in the NBA, though. It does happen. Unlike the NHL, where that's happened like 4 times.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll happen for the Avs, but it's not impossible. Just throwing it out there. Eric's a little more confident than I am.
Oh, I love that team. I love them. I love the way they're built.
They're already 10% of the way there at 6-0.
That's simple.
So, at least they got that going for them.
They need. This is going to be bad. Don't do math live on
more
it yet.
wins.
They need 54 wins in 76 games.
Yep. So that's like
Jesus.
750 hockey.
Jesus, man, that is a lot of winning.
Yeah. That'd be. It's not. It's like. It's like 666 hockey. It's 2/3. You got to win 2/3 of your remaining games to get there.
They're good.
Just go 8-2 every 10 games.
That's all.
I think they can.
What's the worst stretch you can go, you think?
I'd have to actually do the math on that. I'm not nearly good enough at math to do this.
Certainly not on air. It's not happening.
I just barely managed to do addition and subtraction. I hope correctly.
Stupid question though in the NBA, like home court advantage. Like, you know, in the NHL, I'm a one-trick pony. You guys know that. Like, I don't know. I get it. You get last matchup. It's a big, big difference in a hockey game. That's why being home is a big advantage. Is there something like that in the NBA or no? Like, what's the advantage of being at home?
Altitude. Just ask every road team. No, that's Denver's advantage.
No, I'm talking about anyone.
No, there really isn't.
There isn't.
There isn't an in-game one like that.
It's just the crowd or whatever.
Yeah, it's crowd atmosphere, familiarity. Being on the road sucks.
Because hockey, that's a huge advantage. I mean,
yeah, getting to do matchups and stuff is one of the many reasons why hockey is superior.
That's why 15 wins in a row is sick.
Yeah, it's
outrageous. It's unreal. 15, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which I did want to get, AJ, your thoughts on a few of those records the Avs set the other night.
In case anybody was curious, they've lost like 5 road games this calendar year.
Yeah, it's
not right.
So, that includes the postseason where they only lost in Seattle once.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, like, in case anybody was curious, it's pretty impressive.
But I want, like, AJ, from your perspective, do those statistics mean anything to you? An Avs team that has won 15 road games across 2 seasons, a Georgiev who has the best start to a season by any Avs goaltender.
Sure.
Okay.
The 15 is more like cool just because
it's two different teams.
The team is so different than the one last year. I am curious, how long does this continue into this season?
Sure.
Because, hey, if they were to run this season's into, like, say 10.
If they sweep this East Coast road trip, you start going, okay, this is a thing. Yeah.
like it is curious. Like, so they set the NHL record, right? Yep. Like this is now the new standard. They chased the home record a couple of years ago. They fell 2 games shy, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, there's one common denominator. What is it?
Their star players are better than everybody else's star players.
Yeah, but there's some of them have been hurt or whatever. I mean, if you go back to it's good coaching. I don't care what people say. You know what? Jared Bednar's an excellent coach, and he works well with Ray Bennett, Nolan Pratt, and Brett in the video room. Those guys are good. And don't forget UC and as a goalie coach. But I think they're good. There's continuity. There's longevity there. Guys know what to expect. I think this is one of or if not the best coaching staff in the NHL. And I didn't think that way before those guys. I'll be the first one to say it.
So I have a hard time disagreeing. I would just because this is how I am wired. I would put them top 5 somewhere.
Oh, yeah, those guys have been outstanding.
You get into some of the other ones, and it's some of the other long tenured coaches are struggling right now. Sullivan and Cooper especially are 2 guys that are feeling it a little bit. And what I mean, I'm saying top 5 just to be safe because I'm like, okay, well, off the top of your head, who competes? But who competes?
I mean, last year I would have said Cooper, but obviously this offseason hasn't been the best for him as far as like competing with Bednar.
That team is surviving, and I think that's admirable, but they are playing really, really sketchy hockey, getting by. I don't know what the hell has gotten into Jonas Johansson.
He's
doing
doing
sample right now. Small sample.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly right.
Great
example.
I don't like them. I mean, nothing against them.
Yeah,
but it's a small sample.
Yeah, of course.
No.
I'd put it to you this way: you don't stick with one team for as long as Bednar has stuck in Colorado without being really good at your job. So,
totally.
It's no small feat.
There's so much turnover in those ranks. Bruce Cassidy in Vegas.
Yep.
Would be another one that it's like, hey.
NHL head coaches are like running backs, man. They have a 3-year career in any given city, and then it's done.
Nobody better exemplifies this than Pete DeBoer.
Yeah, but it's like a marriage, right? I mean, that lasts, and some don't last, right? I mean, and these guys I think the core guys have gotten to understand the coaching staff and vice versa. You know what I mean? It's very important. And then the other guys file in rank, right? I mean, it is what it is. I'm not saying that, a fourth liner is not as important as but there's a pecking order. There is, there's your core players.
Fourth liners just have more turnover than your core.
That's it.
Right?
That's my point. Usually if you're a core, a long-term deal, you're there for a long time, and I think that's where Bedsy and those guys have figured it out. They make it work together because who's going to be gone? The coach. That's just how it works. Mm-hmm. But I think players have bought in.
It's easier to fire one guy than trade six.
It is.
It's just
but
easier.
I think there's been a happy marriage there, and then you put management into this. It's a good triangle. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. C-Mac and Joe and those guys and Kevin McDonald, and I think there's just a great triangle, and that's why I say there's no better in the league in my book.
Yeah, no argument there. Could you reasonably call the Avs home invaders, given that they've won 15 road games?
I don't even want to know where this is going. Just leave me out of it.
Then I wouldn't know how to answer. If you don't know how to answer, think about me over here on the left side.
I actually don't. That's probably a bad example because a home invasion is like an actual crime. But maybe not home invasion. But
it's great that you're realizing this live on air.
It's fine. It's fine. Look, if you are out on the road and someone has crashed into you, you're not at fault. You're Megan Angley and someone runs a stop sign into you. You got to get Bacchus and Shanker. You can get them at 222-2222 today or go to coloradolaw.net. You'll get a free consultation from them. Any situation, if you've been injured and you're not at fault, a car accident, like I said, if you're downtown on a scooter, if something happened at work that got you injured, Bacchus and Shanker has your back. They'll give you the free consultation at the 2 number. If they think you have a case, you will pay them nothing up front. They don't get paid until you get paid, and they will get you paid. They've won over $1 billion for their clients here in 25 years of doing what they do best. So give them a call. Go to coloradolaw.net. Make sure you get what you deserve with Bacchus and Shanker. They win. Also brought to you by Breckenridge Distillery, the official alcohols of DNVR. Their whiskey has won literally dozens of awards. If you haven't had a chance to try it, highly recommend you get in on some of their bourbon whiskey. Absolutely delicious stuff. But they also have other liquors, too. They have a new vodka inspired by the Broncos' new white helmets. And they're giving away sweet tickets to the Broncos game on New Year's Eve. If you haven't gotten in on this yet, hashtag Broncos Bourbon over on Instagram with your favorite pictures of the Broncos. And then go enjoy yourself if you win at the suite at Mile High. Even if the Broncos suck, a suite at Mile High is a very fun time, especially on New Year's where you get to watch all the fireworks. So it's going to be a blast of a time. You might as well enter with the Broncos Bourbon hashtag. Once you get to December, they'll narrow it down to the top 10 and have a fan vote over at BreckenridgeDistillery.com/Bourbon of the Broncos. Go over there, check them out. You can also order their liquor from BreckenridgeDistillery.com today. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Looking at the Avs schedule, and I know we're crystal balling here a little bit and maybe more hoping than actually expecting, but can the undefeated matchup happen?
Yeah.
Can both Vegas and the Avs get to November?
I don't know Vegas' schedule, but
November 4th, right?
Yep.
The Avs have Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and St. Louis before then.
Definitely doable. Pittsburgh has been in shambles. Buffalo has not
Buffalo
started very
can't stop
well.
a puck still.
And then St. Louis, kind of a little bit all over the place to start the season.
They've been heavily reliant on Jordan Binnington being exceptional.
Yep.
Last night, he wasn't, and they lost.
Vegas has got Blackhawks Friday. Then they got Kings,
that could be a tough one.
Montreal,
should be a Vegas
Jets, and then Avalanche.
So
a couple real games in there.
Yeah. Colorado's schedule is definitely a little tougher.
Yep.
But yeah, it's possible.
Could happen.
Yeah.
You could have two 10-0 teams going up against each other.
Yeah, the Buffalo game is the one that I would say I'm probably most worried about because 1 p.m. starts are just chaos for everybody. Nobody, Anybody that knows anything about circadian rhythm knows that having it get screwed up that badly
messes you up big time.
Yeah, imagine getting up and if you get up and go to work at 8 a.m., imagine getting up and going to work at 4 a.m. instead.
Yep.
And what that work day is like for you. So 1 p.m. starts. They usually are sloppy, ugly games, and you just never know in those kinds of games. You just never know. Pittsburgh should be pretty straightforward. Can the Avs handle Crosby and Malkin?
Yep.
They can. They'll be fine. They can't. They won't be. St. Louis is the same story as it has been the last few years.
Does Binnington
They suck
stand on his head
defensively.
or not? Yeah.
They suck defensively.
Yep.
They've been better this year. They've overhauled how they play defense. It's had decent returns. It's still too reliant on exceptional goaltending. Their forwards are still they're good, and there's 9 decent ones.
They're mid.
Yeah.
Mid is a good way to put it. Yeah.
Where I like St. Louis's forwards is I like that there's 9 of them. There's 9 guys that I trust there
Depth,
to be
but
some
no super high end. Yeah.
exact. Like Jordan Kyrou's your best forward, and it's like,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
an interesting look at
yeah. So
what
those
could be the collision course those teams are on. Yeah.
That's good. And I mentioned this the other day, but that the longer the Avs remain unbeaten, the more teams are going to get up for that.
Yeah. The same thing for Vegas, to be fair.
Yeah,
But
and it would be awesome for the league to have.
2 9-0, 10-0
Yeah.
teams going at each other. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wasn't
and
that Chicago back then? It had a big streak, and then the Avs were
Yeah.
struggling.
In the
and then
Avs'
they beat-
horrible year, they broke the
streak, right?
yeah,
Chicago.
the
It was a point
48
streak.
the
yeah.
48 game season,
Yeah.
that lockout year. Yeah, they had
that game.
whatever it was, 20 something, where they didn't lose in regulation,
And then the Avs finally got them.
Crazy.
yeah, the
It was
Avs
like 24 games or something.
smoked them that night.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a fun night. I was at Brooklyn's for it.
And that just goes to show any team can beat you on any given night in the NHL. You could be 7-0 and playing Chicago, and they could beat you 5-1. Yeah.
Looks at Vegas this weekend.
Yeah.
What's up? I'm talking about you.
Got to come prepared for anything every single night. That's hockey, baby. But, I do think it is interesting. Not that we're there yet, but already talking about it. You look at the Pacific Division, Edmonton's 10 points back already.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to make up that ground.
Right.
So, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
6-0 is great. Now 0-6, it's like, oh my god, Edmonton's 1-4-1, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have McDavid. Didn't go well last night. The puck went in the net again. What was it? 7? I mean, it might have been an empty netter, but
Yeah.
So 6-7 in your net.
Yep.
That's not a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a feel good sign, for management or for Jay Woodcroft, the coach, or for McDavid himself too, right? Because when you're a leader, you're a captain, you're out. It's the toughest thing. You see your team lose, you're like, oh God, that's hard. You know what I mean? Listen, we're not wishing bad on anybody, but
Not health-wise.
that's what I mean. Like, no,
Edmonton can lose every game.
Yeah,
as
I
far
know.
as I'm
I
concerned.
know. I meant health wise. Like
Yeah.
you never want to see you want to see the best out there. You want to see the best
Totally.
players on the ice.
I want to see McDavid lose while he's on the ice.
That's right. That's right. And I think we
So
all say the
petty.
same thing. But there's some teams that are digging themselves a big hole. And those are big holes. Like when you're talking about 10 points, it doesn't take a week to
Yeah, it takes
to
months
erase
to
it.
dig
It takes
that out.
months,
Yep.
So it's crazy.
Well, we've said on this show a bunch of times that you can't make the playoffs in the first month of the season, but you can miss them.
Yep.
Because it's just too hard. Teams get points because of the overtime and the way the point system. Teams can get points.
Just so many 3-point
And
nights
when
in
you're
the NHL,
chasing,
yeah.
when you're chasing and you're a team chasing, like in February, and like it just seems like it's a 3-point night every night.
Yeah.
It just is. You look at the standings, you're like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? And everybody's getting teams you're chasing. They're getting 3 points, 2-1. Right?
You look at the Avs last year, where they're out of the playoffs in January.
Yeah.
They're not far out. Most of the time, they were like 2 or 3 points, and there was a cluster
They
of
don't
teams.
just charge down the playoffs; they charge down the top of the division.
Right, but it took some things going their way, and they had to play 750 hockey for 3 months to get there.
Amazing.
And what happened? They got into the postseason, and again, there were a
juice.
lot of circumstances that led to this. they ran out of gas.
Yep, they were.
Teams that chase and have those kinds of seasons
It wears on you.
usually, yeah. Look, Florida, great run.
Yep.
But as soon as it stopped, it was done.
The Magic emptied
It
the
was
tank.
done. And the question every year, we see it, we're seeing it in baseball right now with the Arizona Diamondbacks. There's always a team that just catches fire at the right time.
Yep.
Can
How
they
long
sustain
can it last?
long
Yep.
enough to get there?
Yep.
Or do they eventually hit the wall? And right now the question for an Edmonton, how bad does this get with no McDavid? Because if it's what we use 1-4-1 right now, what if that gets to 2-8-1?
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
Well, and
That's a hole.
chasing down the playoffs is going to be a little bit different than them chasing down Vegas for the top of the division. But go back a couple of years and look at how many teams when the Avs are at the top of the division that you're chasing, and you're a St. Louis and you just went 8-2 in your last stretch. You feel pretty good about it, and you look at the schedule, and the Avs have gone 9-1, and you actually lost ground.
You lost ground.
Yeah,
That's unreal. I know.
it's really really hard.
It's gonna
And
be
it
a little
happened last
frustrating
year.
for Dallas right now because they're like, this bullshit again. They're what, 4-1 to start the season?
Yeah.
And they're looking up going, we lost ground.
Yep.
And
how it
then if
goes.
you're the San Jose Sharks, my good buddy David Quinn, when do you get your first win this year?
I mean, if you're them, you don't look at the standings.
Jeez, that's tough right now.
You just,
You pull up Bob's list and you go to sleep dreaming about,
that's Greer's,
Yzerman or
that's Greer's
celebrating.
job, yeah.
and that's it. That's all you think about.
I'm actually starting to get a little excited for this draft class.
Yeah, like I still think I have Celebrini over Yzerman, but
I mean, as a whole, I like the defenseman way more because last year it was like
there was
like
not a ton
it's like,
going on.
You're
yeah.
like Reinbacher, Simashev, like these guys are good players, but
Yeah.
not every draft class is equal in that way. And I think this year is going to be there's going to be a lot of
Team D.
defensemen that get taken in top 15.
Well, of course you would have that thought. Not that there
I-
always is, but
I did not feel that way last year.
yeah.
I didn't know if there was going to be one in the top 10. And
There
then,
was.
Yeah, there ended up being a couple because teams are desperate.
Always seems to happen that way with the D. All right. Any other thoughts? Anything we want to add for an off day for us here?
Jack Hughes is good.
Jack Hughes he's a freak. Nico, top 5 in scoring
Nico's
in the
the
NHL
man.
right now.
Yeah, you
the
guys should
man.
also go check out the PDO cast that Dmitry
Yeah,
Filipovich
just did a
did.
huge thing on Miko.
50-minute pod dedicated entirely to Mikko Rantanen and the Avalanche.
Boom.
I haven't listened to it yet, but
He's awesome.
Filipovich is the shit, so it's going to be fantastic.
There you go. We're going to get out of here for the day. We appreciate all y'all hanging out with us. Go check us out on thednvr.com for more content, or here on YouTube, like and subscribe. That helps us out a ton. That's all we got for you. Tomorrow, it's game day again, and we will be pregame. Well, I think, Nuggets play Friday, so we'll have a watch along too and post game. We'll see you there, and we'll talk to you on the next one.
We all silly like the mayor.